Good afternoon. Hey, TikTok, on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. Hey everyone, good afternoon. I'm Brian Manning and I'm a political asylum lawyer. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, and we help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. We've already got our first hello. Haven or Havin, hello. Good to see you. Thank you for being with us. Say hello before we jump into the questions and answers. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Where are you at? Haven Amol says hello on YouTube. Where are you at? Good to see you. Hello to you. Where are you guys at? What city are you in? I'm always curious to hear. Haven already has a question. Raised hand. Go ahead and ask it. I'm going to say a couple words, Haven, and then I'm going to get to the questions, all right? But let me know where you are, first of all. So we're based in Texas. My law firm is in Texas, and we help clients all over, though. So it's not just Texas. We help people all over the country. We got clients lots in California, Florida, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, all over the place. We help immigrants secure their future in America through asylum. Asylum is it's all we do. It's all we do. You know, if you're scrolling through YouTube, TikTok, you're going to see lots of immigration lawyers who, they say they're immigration lawyers. Have you noticed that I don't say that I'm an immigration lawyer? I'm an asylum lawyer, all right? We focus on asylum. That's what we do every day, all day. We don't take other types of cases. If you need help with, a marriage-based immigration case or like employment or an investment-based immigration case, I'm not your guy. I'm not the best person for you. That's not what I do. That's not where I spend my time. It's not what I'm passionate about. We do asylum. So if asylum is the problem that you need solved, then we should talk. And really, the best way to talk, to reach out to us, to connect so we can talk about your situation, is to go to winasylum.com. Again, that's winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule a consultation. Super quick, easy to do that. On your mobile, it'll take you just a minute to maybe two to get it scheduled. All right, super easy. I want to talk. One of our staff members, one of our team, one of our asylum specialists, professionals to talk with you. Okay, so yeah. Before I get to your questions, go ahead, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. But before we get to that, interesting. Before we get to the questions, I'm going to say a couple words about this. Listen, if you followed me for more than 5 minutes on social media, on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, you know that I talk all the time about Mandamus Lawsuits. That is the lawsuit where you're suing the government. You're asking a federal judge to tell the USCIS asylum office that they have to do their job, okay? That they have to give you your interview and your decision, and they need to do so right away. It's super effective. It works incredibly well. Today we got 2 decisions, asylum approval notices from cases where we sued the government to force our clients asylum interviews, okay? One of them was from West Africa. And from Nigeria, and the other is from Venezuela. Now, the question that I always get, and I understand. Let me preface this by saying I understand this completely. I understand the concern and the sort of the trepidation maybe with proceeding on this route, right? Because suing the government seems a little bit scary, right? It seems a little bit intimidating to be basically picking a fight with the U.S. government, right? But it's kind of a bold action to take, right? To sue the U.S. government. And so a lot of people ask me, okay, Brian, well, could suing the government hurt my asylum case? Like once it's time to actually have my interview and get the decision, are they going to hold against me the fact that I sued the government to get my interview, to move my case forward? Is it going to hurt my underlying asylum case? I completely get that. That's a reasonable thing to wonder about and to ask. But the answer is no. I am fully confident that it will not affect your asylum case. And there's 3 reasons I want to tell you why. Number 1, the asylum officer who actually does your interview and makes the decision in your case, well, they might not even know that you have sued the government. So listen, back when I was an asylum officer with the government, if you didn't know, I used to be an asylum officer. I worked at the Houston asylum office. Back when I was there, we didn't know when someone had sued the government. Someone that we were interviewing, that information, the fact that they had sued the government, just didn't go in the asylum file. So we didn't even know that they had sued. So that's the first thing, is they might not even know. All right. The second thing is, even if they do know, I just don't think they're going to hold it against you, because it's just not a big deal in in American society. Listen, for us, suing is like taking out the trash. It's no big deal. We are a very litigious society. Litigious is just like a fancy word to mean that we sue a lot, okay? We're quick to sue in the United States. So when someone does it, it's just like, oh, no big deal. That's normal. And I think it's understandable and reasonable, honestly, that someone in your position, if you've been waiting for years for your asylum interview, it's reasonable that you would do this, that you would take this, step to enforce, to assert your right, because you do have a right to have your case considered in a reasonable amount of time. That's what the rules say. The rules say that USCIS is supposed to act in a reasonable time. And when they don't do that, that's when you can sue. It's understandable. I think asylum officers tend to understand that, you want to get on with your life, right? You want to get certainty and confidence around your future. Because right now, let's face it, you're in limbo, right? You unless you have like TPS or maybe you have student status, but other than that, it's almost certain that if you've been waiting for years for your asylum interview, you don't have any legal status, okay? You're in limbo and you want to get certainty around your future so that you can, have confidence about the life that you want to build, your confidence about your safety and your security and your future. So it's reasonable in the officer's eyes, I think, that someone would take this step. So the third thing is that, listen, the officer, they can't use this against you, not formally, not technically. The fact that you've sued to get your interview. Listen, after every asylum interview, the asylum officer has to write what is called an assessment, where they're laying out in writing the facts of the case and their decision, and then they're applying the facts to the law to justify that decision. They have to say how they got to that decision and justify it under the law. And, there's certain things that they can point to as like a negative aspect in your case, like a negative, kind of like a strike against you that counts against you that could be one of the things that they take into account in deciding you don't qualify for asylum, right? There's only certain negative factors. There's basically a list of them. And the fact that you sued the government to get your interview is not among the list of negative factors that an officer can point to try to justify a negative decision. It's just not one of the things. They can't say, oh, there was 3 problems with the case, boss. A, B, and C, with C being, oh, you sued to get your interview. No, they can't do that. It's not one of the things they can use. So listen, that's how it is they can't use it against you, okay, formally. So those 3 reasons, again, why I am so confident that suing the government is not going to lead to them, denying your underlying asylum case. It's not going to, I'm confident it will not negatively affect in any way your underlying asylum case. Again, those 3 reasons in summary are: 1, the officer might not even know about it. 2, even if they do know, they're not going to care. It's just not a big deal, and it's understandable that you would do this. And then 3, they can't use this as a negative factor in justifying a negative decision against you. It's not something they can hold against you in their analysis, okay? So for those reasons, I'm confident that, listen, it's not going to hurt your case. And listen, this is borne out by our experience because, okay, we've been doing this a lot lately in my law firm. We've been suing the government a ton the last couple of years, and it works. And my man Badru, who is on YouTube, where is that comment? Badru says, he says on YouTube, Mandamus is the only effective tool to get your case moving. It worked out very well with my case. The officer wasn't mad at me at all. Everything went smooth because I had the best mock interview. Badru was our client. Badru sued the government. He got his interview quickly. We prepared him for his case. We put together his case in writing through what I call an asylum roadmap, where we present the case in writing. We prepared him through a mock interview that he talked about in his comment. He said he had the best mock interview. That's why his interview went smoothly. And then we represented him during his interview, and he won asylum, okay? He was waiting for multiple years. He sued. He got his interview, and now he's an asylee. He has asylum. Next step, permanent residency. And Badru's on here all the time. Badru's like an unpaid salesman. He's always on here talking good about us, talking about his positive experiences that he had with my colleagues. So thank you, Badru, as always, for taking the time to tell people about your positive experience with our law firm and how this stuff has changed, your life. I'm grateful, and I'm happy for you, Badru, for sure. So yeah, that's it. Listen, if your asylum case has been pending for years and you're sick of waiting and you want to get on with your life, you want to get your interview so that you can win your case and get on with your life, then you should take action. You should take action. This mandamus thing works. It works extremely well. Our clients love it. Talk to us. Go to winasylum.com, 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 and that's where you can schedule a consultation. It's what we call an asylum strategy session, where we're going to analyze your situation. We're going to tell you what we think. If we think we can help you, if so, we're going to tell you exactly what steps we're going to take in your case to give you the best possible chance to secure your future in America through asylum. That's what we want to do. We want to talk with you. We want to talk. So go to winasylum.com. Do it now. Do it now. I want to get off this call, off this live Asylum Answer show, and I want to see Amol, Tim, Sheikh Kareem Uddin, Huds Wallace, Haven. I want to see you on our calendar. All right, go now. Go to winasylum.com. Listen, that's what I wanted to say by way of introduction. So let's do it. Let's answer your questions about asylum in the United States. I'm going to start with TikTok today. Usually we start with YouTube. Let's go to TikTok. Okay, how long? Jonathan says, how long the mandamus? How long does it take for the to get the interview? So the question is, how long does it take to get your asylum interview when you sue the government in a mandamus lawsuit to force the government to take action, to move your case forward and schedule that interview? How long does it take? Well, listen, the government has 60 days to reply and tell the judge what their position is on the case after you sue. After you file the lawsuit and you send a copy of it to the defendants, the lawyer for the government has 60 days to respond. It's almost always during those 60 days, near the end usually, that they call me and they go, Brian, we don't want to fight this one. You know, if your client will just drop this lawsuit against us, we'll give them the interview right away and the decision. And so usually we get the notice that the interview has been scheduled within 60 days of filing the lawsuit, or 65 days because it takes a few days from mailing the copy to them. So again, usually within about 65 days of filing the lawsuit, we get the interview notice that says your interview has been scheduled for X date. Now, X date, the date of the actual interview, is going to be, it's not going to be those 60 or 64 days. It's going to be a little bit later. Sometimes it's like a week later, such that the total wait time is, 75 days from the time we sue. Often it's a couple months, or at least a few weeks, maybe a couple months. We've seen it be several months. We've seen it be like 6 or I think one time it was even 8 months, which is a long time, unfortunately, but it's better than not suing, because if you don't sue, you're probably going to be waiting for years. Okay. You're probably going to be waiting for years longer to get your asylum interview. So you should do it now. There's no reason to wait. And you asked about that. Like, does it matter when I do my mandamus? Is it better to do it now? Thank you, Maria, for asking that. So the question is, when should you file your mandamus lawsuit? Like, is it better to just go ahead and do it now and get it over with? Or is there some reason why you might want to wait longer? Well, listen, as long as you've been waiting for several years. Now, it's a little bit tricky, but in most of the country, in all of the country, except for people with cases at the Los Angeles Asylum Office, in this moment when we're doing this live show right now, we're saying 3 years. If you applied three years or more ago, you're in a good position to win. With the Los Angeles Asylum Office right now, we're saying 5 years. Okay, if you meet that threshold, you should do it now. There's no reason to wait. The longer you wait, I think the harder it is going to be to win your case. In general, I think that you want to have your interview and your decision as soon as possible, because things change. First of all, conditions in your country might change. They might improve, or at least look like they've improved. Even if they really haven't, they might look like it, and that can make you lose your case. With more time, there's more chance of that happening. Also, the more time that passes, the more likely it is the officer's just going to go, well, yeah, I understand like some bad things happened to you, but that was a long time ago. Why do you think someone still wants to hurt you now after all this time? I promise you, a lot of officers think that way. So the longer, every year, every month, and definitely every year that goes by, I think it becomes harder and harder to win your asylum case. Okay. So, if you meet the threshold for 3 years, or Los Angeles Asylum Office 5 years, I think now is the time. And listen, there's one more factor right now, which is the Trump effect. Trump might win the presidency. If he does, I think it's going to be harder to win asylum in general. Therefore, sue now. There's a good chance. What are we in? It's August 1st, first day of August. There is a really good chance that you're going to have your interview and your decision before, even before the elections. August, September, October. Yeah, even before the elections, let alone there's a really good chance that you'll have your decision before Trump actually could take office in January. Okay. So call me now. Like if you don't go online to winasylum.com, or listen, you can call 713-909-0401. Call 713-909-0401. That's where you can call us to schedule an asylum strategy session so that one of our asylum professionals can get to understand what's going on, what your situation is, to tell you whether we think we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. Whether that's the first step is, a Mandamus lawsuit or not. If you haven't applied yet and you're thinking about applying, we want to walk you through that process. Or if you've already applied and you want help reinforcing your case, improving your case before you have a hearing or before you have your interview, we want to talk with you about all this stuff. Go to 713-909-0401. All right. Let us go to HUDs is in Seattle, Washington. Awesome. I like it up there. That area is beautiful. All right, Haven says, my case has been pending for 7 years. I didn't do counseling sessions until recently because of newly emerged event triggered my depression. Will this be suspicious to the officer? First of all, Haven, I'm sorry to hear about that. I'm sorry to hear that you're going through these challenges, and I really hope for the best for you. I hope that things improve, okay? So the question is, will it look suspicious if you offer to the asylum office medical reports for some mental health counseling after going through some mental health challenges, if you give that stuff a long time after you applied for asylum, which is to say, does it look suspicious if you didn't provide this stuff, you didn't have this problem back at the beginning when you applied, maybe several years ago, but now it's going on, now you're seeing the doctor, is it okay and is it a good idea to go ahead and still include this stuff even though you didn't include it originally? The answer is you should do it. It will not look shady or suspicious. If there's something that has happened in your life that has led you to decide to now need and decide to get help with some mental health challenges that you're facing, that's completely understandable, that's reasonable, and it's good in my opinion that you're doing it, that you're getting the help. So it doesn't look weird or bad in the eyes of the asylum officer. It's completely fine. They might ask you so tell me what happened such that you decided that you needed to get this help now at this particular time, and you'll explain. It's not hard. It's fine. No, it'll be fine. Okay. All right. Good luck, and hope that the help that you're getting is helpful. All right. We have got HUD's Wallace says, does winning a mandamus case give you a good shot at winning an asylum interview? So the question is, does having success with a mandamus lawsuit to get your asylum interview scheduled give you a better chance of winning your asylum case? So in other words, if you sue the government to get your interview and that works, you get the interview, does the fact that you sued and that you had success, does that up your chances, improve your chances for success at winning your underlying asylum case? No, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt your chances, as I've explained at length, but it also doesn't help them. It's a non-factor. The office, as I've explained a lot of times I love talking about this, so I say it a lot. There's a good chance the officer who does your asylum interview and makes the decision won't even know that you sued. So how could it affect her, right? But even if they do know, no, it's not going to be a negative, but it's also not going to be a positive. It's a non-factor. They're just assessing whether you meet all the requirements for asylum eligibility. This other fact, the fact that you sued to get your interview, is neither a plus nor a negative. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your case, okay? All right. Tim Park on YouTube says, will the mailing the form take longer to process? So thank you for the question. The question is it going to take longer to process your asylum case if you apply with USCIS by mail than if you were to apply online? Yeah, it is. It's going to take longer if you do it by mail. Listen, you should apply online, okay? Applying online is better principally because it's faster, all right? The process is much faster. When you apply by mail, it's going to take several months to get your receipt notice. That's the letter that USCIS sends that says, hey, we got your application. It's pending as of X date. And you're in queue basically. You get that letter when you apply online through a My USCIS account, usually automatic, instantaneously after you apply, or definitely within the next day or two. When you apply by mail, we've been seeing it take 7 to 10 months for people to get that receipt notice. Now, here's the problem. You become eligible to apply for a work permit 150 days, about 5 months after applying for asylum, but you can't get that work permit. Even if you reach 150 days, you can't get that work permit until you get that receipt notice, because you won't get that receipt notice until your case has actually been like picked up and put into the system. Your data is put into the system. Because if you apply at 150 days, but for a work permit, but you had applied online, or excuse me, you'd applied by mail for asylum and you haven't gotten the receipt notice yet, you're going to get rejected for the work permit because they're going to say, we don't see an asylum case for you because your application packet is still sitting in the mailroom. It hasn't been picked up and put into the system yet, and they don't see that it's pending. Eventually, when they pick it up, they'll put it into the system and they will use the date that it entered the mailroom. When it comes in the mailroom, they stamp it and say, received on X date. X date will be your asylum application date. So that's the good news. But it's just that if you become eligible to apply for a work permit before that happens, before they put your data in the system, you'll get denied. You can't get the work permit until your data is put into the asylum system. And that might not happen for 7, 8, 9, 10 months if you apply by mail. So apply online for asylum. Got it? Haven says, what does a mock interview look like? Should I hire a translator for the mock interview? Because my first language is not English. Thanks for the question, Haven. So the question is, what does a mock interview with my law firm look like? Well, listen, let me first tell you that I think a lot of our clients will tell you that this is the single most important, single most helpful aspect of the entire representation of everything that they do with my office and everything that we do for them. I think a lot of our clients would tell you this, the mock interview, also known as a practice interview, is the most important thing, that it helps them the most. So what it is it's a full-scale practice interview. We're going to do everything from beginning to end, even like all the administrative stuff, because we want you to see what it's really like, everything that you can expect to experience on the day of the real interview. We want to make it as realistic as possible. Why? Because that way, when you go to the real interview, you're going to go in much more comfortable and confident, knowing what it feels like to be in this position, what kind of questions they're going to ask, what all the different procedures for the day are. Basically, you'll feel like, oh, I feel like I've been here. I've done this. I know what to expect. And that takes the stress level down. It helps you to think clearly. It gives you confidence. It's going to help you to do a better job during your real asylum interview. It's hugely important and hugely helpful. After we do the full-scale mock interview, a day or 2 or 3 later, we'll do a debrief session where we'll go back and we'll give you feedback. And we'll be like, hey, you could maybe try to be a little bit clear in explaining this thing, or consider phrasing it differently, stuff like that. And we'll just give you all our best asylum interview tips. So the mock interview plus the follow-on debrief session is really a crucial part of us helping our clients to win their asylum case. All right. The other question you asked was, do you need interpretation for doing your mock interview? Yeah, if you're going to do your interview in a language other than English, your real interview, then it's best to do the mock interview with us in that language that you're going to use, with an interpreter that, it can be a family member or friend, as long as they're very fluent in both languages. If not, then you could hire, for $100, $200, you could hire an interpreter to help you for a couple hours or a few hours. Okay. All right. Abraham says, hi, sir. Is Mandamus for waiting in the affirmative asylum interview for 3 years and 5 months in San Francisco? Yeah. So the question was, do you have a good chance for success with a Mandamus lawsuit to try to force your asylum interview if you've been waiting for about 3.5 years and your case is pending with the San Francisco asylum office? The answer is yes. I think you're in a good position to have success. So listen, we've been doing this a bunch lately. We've been suing the government a bunch lately. And every single time we've done it, we at San Francisco with the San Francisco asylum office, we've had success so far. I'm not saying this will happen, that it will happen in your case or in any given case in the future, but I can tell you we've been doing this a lot lately. And every single time with the San Francisco asylum office, we've had success, where in the sense that we haven't had to fight the case to the very end. Rather, through our filing and through negotiation with the government, we've gotten the interview quickly after filing the lawsuit, including for people a little over 3 years waiting. It's the longer you've been waiting, the better. Like, the lower the chances are the government will fight back and make you really litigate it to the very end in federal court. But yeah, we're telling people right now, 3 years is enough to have a pretty good chance for success with the Mandamus lawsuit. Okay. All right. Nicari Bustamante says, all Venezuelans apply for asylum, but this is not true. What do you mean by that? Yeah, it's true. Not all it's true that not all Venezuelans apply for asylum, or are you trying to say that a lot of them apply, but they don't have a good case or a real case? What are you trying to say? Rephrase. Let me know what you're thinking. All right. El Guerrero on TikTok says, "Hi, sir. It's been 5 years from the day that I applied for asylum. I'm waiting for an interview, and it's been, I don't know where the rest is, but I'll address that." You said it's been too long. All right. So I'm sorry to hear you're in this position. So listen, the question is, what can you do if you've been waiting for a long time for your asylum interview, like 5 years, let's say? You're in a good position at 5 years. You're in a very good position to sue through a mandamus lawsuit to force the government to give you your asylum interview and your decision pretty darn quick. Anything outside of 3 years, in my opinion, starts to become pretty unreasonable in terms of the delay, the wait since you applied for asylum. 5 years, yeah, you're in a very strong position. Very strong position. When I say that, what I mean is there's a very good chance that when you sue, the government lawyer will come back and say, we don't want to fight this one, so here's your interview notice. We've scheduled your interview for you. Okay. Another benefit, though, another benefit of doing the mandamus lawsuit is not only that it forces your asylum interview, but it's also helpful to ensure that you get the decision soon, quickly after your interview. Because what happens is people that get their interview naturally, which is to say without suing, sometimes they'll wait months or even years for the decision after the interview. But with a mandamus lawsuit, you're keeping this pressure on the government to go quick, and you're keeping pressure not just to give you the interview, but also the decision. So it forces them to give you the decision quickly after the interview. Usually it's like 2 or 3 weeks after the interview that our clients get their decision once they've done their interview after having sued to get that interview. Okay. Okay, you're gonna have to stop spamming there, Mareg. That's not how to get your question answered. All right. So, Biola Grace says, can you get your work permit without doing the biometrics appointment? So the question is it possible to get your work permit based on your pending asylum case without first doing a biometrics appointment? And the answer is almost certainly no. There's a few cases where people have contact with the immigration authorities in a way that they do the fingerprinting and all the stuff that is used for background checks in a capacity outside of a normal biometrics appointment, such that they don't have to go again, or maybe they've already done the same types of biometric stuff that they would do for an asylum case, such that they don't have to go after applying for asylum to get their work permit. But normally, no. I mean, you can count on you will be doing a biometrics appointment before you get your work permit. But listen, you don't have to wait to do your biometrics appointment before applying for your work permit. When you apply for your work permit, that will trigger them to schedule a biometrics appointment for you. If you haven't gotten one already by virtue of having applied for asylum, but then you go and apply for a work permit, the work permit application will trigger them to schedule a biometrics appointment for you. So that's actually a common problem, is that people think, oh, I can't apply for my work permit until I've done a biometrics appointment for my asylum case. It's not true. Okay, you can apply when you reach 150 days, apply for your work permit, and they will schedule the biometrics appointment. Okay. All right, nice. Monica, did you talk with us today? This is the same question. I had my colleagues were talking about this question earlier. Monica De Stefani on YouTube says, after waiting almost 10 years, I got scheduled for an interview in 2 weeks. The issue is I don't live in California anymore. Am I still able to do the interview? So, the question is what happens if your interview is scheduled, but it's scheduled for an asylum office where you don't live anywhere near anymore? So, which is to say, you apply one place and your asylum case is assigned to that asylum office, let's say Los Angeles, but then you move. And a long time later, you get your interview notice and it says interview scheduled for Los Angeles. What should you do? First of all, unless and until you get a interview cancellation notice in writing, you need to plan to attend the interview. You should go to the interview, even though you don't live there. But unfortunately, what's going to happen is if you go to the interview, if it doesn't get canceled ahead of time, they're going to go, oh, I see that you moved to Florida or whatever. Our office doesn't have jurisdiction over your case. We cannot handle your case. Therefore, unfortunately, we're going to have to transfer your case to Florida, and you're not going to do your interview in California. And it might take a long time to get it scheduled in Florida. It might be soon, but it might take a long time. So my recommendation is really, listen, email and send a letter to the asylum office where your interview has been scheduled in California, and attach a copy of your like a PDF of your AR-11, the form that that you submitted that says I moved, and as well as a copy of the interview notice, and say, look, you guys scheduled me for California, but I'm in Florida. Shouldn't my case be transferred to Florida? Would it be possible to cancel my case and my interview in California and reschedule it in Florida as soon as possible? Could you please do that? They probably won't address it in time. They probably won't, but they might. But if they do, if they send you a letter that says interview canceled, great, then don't go. If you don't get that letter, then you need to go and show up for the interview. Okay, that's what I think. Nice. Thanks for the roses, Nelly. All right. Oh, man. Vicky says, I've been waiting 10 years for a court date, but the judge dismissed my asylum case. What does it mean? So what are the implications of your asylum case getting dismissed from immigration court? Why does that happen? And what happens next? So listen, the Biden administration currently has this policy where they're like, certain people, if you're not like a criminal, like you came a long time ago and you meet certain requirements, you're not really a priority for us to deport. We don't really care about deporting you. We don't really want to spend the resources and time doing it. So we're going to ask to dismiss your case. When they ask that, usually the judge agrees and the case is dismissed. A dismissal means your case disappears. You are no longer in deportation proceedings, which is good. That is good. But the downside is that you're in limbo because your asylum case disappears also when a case is dismissed from court. That means you can't get asylum because you don't have an asylum case pending anymore. And also, you can't renew a work permit that's based on your pending asylum case because you have no pending asylum case on which to renew a work permit. If you still want to fight your case and try to win asylum and you want to get a work permit based on a pending asylum case, you do have an option, which is to apply again with USCIS. But this decision of whether to do that, whether it makes sense strategically, is a little bit tricky. I highly encourage you to talk with an asylum lawyer before deciding whether to do it. But I do want you to know that that's an option. You can try to win asylum and get a work permit based on your pending asylum case by applying again with USCIS. Okay, so that's how that works. All right, so Brian, how long should I wait until I can sue the government in Los Angeles? Thanks. So the question is, if you live in Los Angeles, or if your asylum case is pending in Los Angeles, how long should you wait before suing the government in a Mandamus lawsuit to try to force the government to give you your asylum interview? At this moment, 5 years. Okay. Listen, all over the country, everywhere else in the country, every other asylum office, we're telling people right now that 3 years is enough because that's what we've been seeing. We've been having success with 3 years where we sue, the government does not fight back, we do a little negotiation, and they end up giving us the interview and the decision soon. But in Los Angeles, that's the only place where they've pushed back, where they've fought back when we've in 2 cases, we've applied or we've sued where the person was waiting over 3 years, but less than 5 years. And we learned that the rule, the sort of informal, maybe formal rule, is that office, the lawyers for the government are going to fight back in Los Angeles if it's under 5 years. Now, it doesn't mean you'll lose. If you've been waiting 3 or 4 years, you can sue. Right now, it's just that the chances for you getting the interview right away, because they're like, oh, we don't even want to fight this, are low. They're probably going to fight back. You might win that fight, but that fight to try to win the case in federal court with the judge, taking it all the way to the end of a federal litigation, is going to take a while. It's probably going to take at least a year to get a final decision from the judge. Okay, so it's not impossible to win it in LA between 3 and 5 years, but you should know that at least at the moment that we're doing this show, you're probably going to have to fight it out in court. As where everywhere else in the country, it's like 3 years. And I think I personally right now think you're in a pretty good position to not even have to fight it out, but rather to get it quickly, get the government to agree quickly to give you the interview. Okay. All right. Following up on TikTok's first questions, what is the average waiting time in Texas after receiving the interview notice from the Mandamus? So, how long should you expect to wait if you sue the government to get your asylum interview? You sue them in a Mandamus lawsuit, and your case is pending in the Houston Asylum office. Listen, this is the office that we know well because we're based in Texas, so we're dealing with the Houston Asylum office pretty much every day. I used to work there. I was an asylum officer at the Houston Asylum office. So we know this office well. We've been suing them a lot lately, and it works. It's worked every single time that we've sued them so far. That's no guarantee that it will work in any particular case or in the future, but I can tell you we've been suing the government a lot the last couple of years, and it works really well. It's worked every time in Houston, and it's been quick in Houston. It's been, I would say, the average time that from the time that we initiate the lawsuit to the time that our client gets their interview in Houston, it's probably 3 months. Maybe a little longer, 3.5. It's pretty quick. And then we're usually getting the decision like 2 or 3 weeks after the interview. So it's pretty darn quick. And remember, if you don't take action, if you've been waiting for years already and you don't take action, you're probably not going to get your interview for several years to come. All right. And it's probably going to keep getting harder and harder to win asylum. The longer you wait, you have to wait to present your case and get a decision, the harder it gets to win, in my opinion, in my experience. All right. Thanks for the question. I want to talk. I want someone from my team to talk with you. Okay. Haven, will you schedule today? Go over there and schedule. Go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation. Listen, it's free right now. We used to charge a little under $200 for this, but right now, as we're talking here on this live, it's free. So I don't know if that's going to last. So take advantage of that. Go to winasylum.com and schedule this consultation now. It's super quick and easy to get it scheduled on your mobile. It just takes a minute to get it done. And we want to talk with you. I want someone from my staff, an asylum professional, to see what's going on and tell you whether we think that we can help you. All right? That's what we want to do. Okay? Wrath says, does body language during the interview affect my case? I find it hard to focus on my body and what I say at the same time. My interview is very close. Well, first of all, Wrath, good luck. It sounds like your interview's been scheduled. So that's cool. That's exciting. I wish you all the best. The question is, can your body language affect your asylum outcome? Which is to say, your asylum interview, the things, how you're acting with your body language, will that have an impact on your case? Like if maybe you aren't in a good position to sort of think about your body until maybe you're too nervous or you just can't really focus on it. I mean, not much. I wouldn't worry about it much. No, I don't think it really is. I mean, no, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm trying to think when I was an asylum officer, if I ever would have been like, oh, that's weird, or I don't think so. Don't worry about it, Wrath. Don't worry about it. Just worry about trying to be prepared to tell your story, to show the officer how you meet all the requirements for asylum. If you haven't done it yet, Wrath, go over on YouTube, TikTok, go to YouTube, search political asylum lawyers. On YouTube, go to playlists and my playlist channel. On my channel, go to playlists and look for like full length asylum trainings. There's several trainings on the asylum interview that you need to see. You need to start watching those today. They're real long and detailed, but it's going to show you a lot of stuff that's going to help you be prepared to do the best possible job in your asylum interview so that you can give yourself the best possible chance to secure your future in America through asylum. I want to talk. I want you to reach out, schedule an appointment. Wrath, if you want, we can talk about doing a mock interview. If your interview is not for a few weeks, we might be able to do a full representation. If it's within a week or two, we won't have time for that, but we can do a practice interview, a mock interview, which is super, super helpful because you're going to experience everything you'll experience on the day of the real interview. And I think it's really going to help you. All right. That's it for today. Thanks for being with us on the Asylum Answers Show. I'm Brian Manning. My law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers. We're based in Texas, but we help people all over the country. So It doesn't matter where you are. I want you to call us or go to winasylum.com so that you can set up a time to talk with us, and we want to see what's going on. We want to see if we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. Do that. Go schedule it now, and then I'll see you on the next. Come back on the next live. Probably 2 days from now, probably on Saturday. Come back on the next live and tell me, hey, Brian, I scheduled my consultation. It's coming up Tuesday. I want to hear from you. All right, guys. Have a